Hare Krishna. So thank you for the class today. So we are in chapter number 3, verse number 15. So before that we start today's class. Last class we saw how when we do yajna, we become happy. And Lord Krishna made all this yajna and told that by performing this yajna, you all will be happy. And then we saw how there is a cooperation between the demigods and the men. So men do the yajna and they please demigods, and the what if the demigods are pleased, they bring rain and all the other things also like sunlight and all. So and then uh, because of that we get our food. And if we enjoy the food without offering them anything in return, that means we are thief. We saw this last time. And the cycle of sacrifice we started. So we saw verse number 14, how we said Annat Bhavati Bhutani Parjanyat Anna Sambhava Yajnat Bhavati Parjanyu Yajna Karma Samudbhavan. So we saw that how the all living entities subsist on food, and this food grains are result of rains, and rains are produced because of yajna, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. So these four things we saw last time. So further we'll see uh, how from Vedas this karma or prescribed duty comes, and the whole cycle we'll see. And then further what happens if one does not do any sacrifice. So that is verse number 16 we will see. And then about a self-realized person, we'll see further verses. So let's start with our verse number 15. Karma brahmodbhavan vidhi parmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagne pratishthitam. Karma, work, Brahma from the Vedas, Udbhavan produced. Vidhi, you should know Brahma, the Vedas, Akshara from the Supreme Brahman personality of Godhead, Samudbhavam directly manifested, Tasmat therefore, Sarvagatam all pervading, Brahma transcendence, Nityam eternally, Yagni in sacrifice, Pratistham situated. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, all the all pervading transcendence is eternally situated in the acts of sacrifice. So, last we saw that we have to perform our duties, and these duties are mentioned in Vedas, and these Vedas are the words of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, they directly manifested from Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, this is how the cycle is there. So, Supreme Personality of Godhead manifest Vedas, which describe perform duties, what is the actions we have to perform. And this action has to be done as a sacrifice or a yajna. And because the yajna is done, the rains are produced. And when the rains are produced, the demigods are pleased. And because of this, what happens is the food grains are grown, and we substitute on this food grains. And then we offer this food grain to Lord whenever we offer bhoga, and this is how we get do not get implicated in sin. So this is a whole cycle which is performed. Purport: Yajna artha karma or the necessity of work for satisfaction of Krishna only is more explicitly stated in this verse. If we have to work for the satisfaction of Yajna Purusha, Vishnu, then we must first find out the direction of work in Brahman or in transcendental Vedas. The Vedas are therefore codes of working directions. So, uh, so we should do work only for the satisfaction of Krishna or Vishnu. That is how the work is done, and is more explicitly expressed here. So, this is very much necessary. And then this, how should we work under the direction of is also decided in the Vedas. So what are Vedas are not anything complicated. Vedas are just the working directions, that how one should act, how one should work. This all is there in Vedas. There is nothing very complicated. What happens is when we interpret Vedas in different ways and do not interpret according to the natural thing, then it becomes very complicated. Otherwise, they're just like manuals. So anything performed without direction of Vedas is called vikarma, or unauthorized or sinful work. So this is an important thing, that we should perform acts according to the direction of Vedas. So if you ask Vedas, what should I do? So Vedas will tell, okay, worship Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna. But if you ask that, no, no, I don't want to Krishna, I want to worship this or this or this person, then Vedas say, okay, if you want to worship this or this person, then I will tell you how to worship. So don't do anything whimsically. So if you act according to my instruction, that Vedas is saying that if you act according to my instructions, gradually what will happen? You will also feel satisfaction that your job is done. But with that job, you will be purified. So Vedas give direction in which the work is also done and the person is also purified gradually. And therefore, his path to liberation is open. And therefore, anything which is done against the Vedas is called vikarma or unauthorized work. And this is sinful work. Why it is sinful is it will not help us to go back to God, but will bind us in this action and reaction chain and will take birth again and again in this material world. And therefore, it is very sinful. Therefore, one should always take direction from the Vedas to be saved from the reaction of work. So, if we want to be saved from the reaction of work, we should take direction from the Vedas. As one has to work in ordinary life by the direction of the state, one similarly has to work under the direction of supreme state of the Lord. So, whatever work we do in this material world, also there are some rules and regulations, and these rules and regulations are dictated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are by Supreme Personality Godhead, but we cannot see his hands directly. But we see this material nature, we see this laws, and ultimately, if we see the natural laws like made by state government also are there. So we have to work under this direction. Otherwise, we'll have some fine or something. People will. And sometimes what happen is the state laws are not very strict and we think that we have overpassed it or we have just surpassed that, but generally it doesn't happen like this. According to the karma we have, sometimes we are just released from that reaction, but ultimately we have to pay for what we do in this material world. Such direction Vedas are direct mentions from the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, such directions are manifested by the breathing. So, all the Vedas have come from the breath of Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said, Asya Mahato Bhutasya Niswasitam Etat Yat Rig Vedo Yajurveda Samveda Atha Atharva Angirasha. The four Vedas, namely the Rig Ved, Yajurved, Samved, and Atharved, are all emanations from the breathing of the great personality of Godhead. Brihad Aranyakya Upanishad 4.5.11. So, the all the Vedas has come from Supreme Personality of Godhead. This we should be thorough of. So, these are not the words of mortal beings or ordinary human beings, and therefore, whatever is written in the Vedas is true. But the only thing is, which book applies to which person has to be very well thought of, because the Vedas are written uh, according to different modes of people. So we should just check what is applicable to us and apply in our life. Uh, the Lord being omnipotent can speak by breathing, by through his breathing, and he can impregnate by his eyes. In fact, it is said that he glanced over the material nature and thus fathered all living entities. So, the Lord is omnipotent. He can do anything with all the senses of his body. So, the Lord can speak through the breathing. So, Vedas admitted. Actually, he eats with his eyes. If we see when you offer bhoga, just by the glance, he takes all the offering which we have offered. So, like this, the Lord can do anything with all the senses. We cannot. So, in other words, the Lord can speak through his breathing and he can impregnate his by his eyes. So, you know how material has come into mixture. So, what has done is he is the father of all living entities. So, he glanced over the material nature, and in this way, what happens is he uh, created all the living entities and is the father of all living entities. After creating or impregnating the conditioned souls in the womb of material nature, he gave his directions in the Vedic wisdom as to how such conditioned souls can return home back to Godhead. So what happens is the Supreme Personality Godhead is the Father. He's the seed-giving Father. So we spirit souls come from him, and the material body which we have got is through material nature, and therefore uh, it is that conditions are in the are impregnated in the womb of material nature. So within the womb of material nature, we come into existence, and then we get material bodies, and then this Vedic wisdom or knowledge is given so that we can go back to Godhead. The aim of all the Vedic wisdom, all the literature is just one: how can we return back to Godhead? And this is how all the books are written. So we may see that in some books there are some yajna written, there's some enjoyment written. But if we see all the yajnas, all the enjoyment, and all the direction, some or where the other they'll be chanting of holy name, there'll be some sukruti, there'll be some sacrifice, some you have to part with your position also. It's like if you do sacrifice, then what happens is you have to part with your money, hard-earned money. You have to purchase ingredients, you have to do so many tapasya that you cannot do some fasting and so many things. So gradually what happens is you get purified by all these things, and then you can go back to Godhead. So this is how all these are made. We should always remember that the conditioned souls in material nature uh, are all eager for material enjoyment. But the Vedic directions are so made that one can satisfy one's perverted desires, then return to Godhead, having finished his so-called enjoyment. So, this conditioned soul, actually, they all want enjoyment because we are such anand, we are always pleasure seeking. And therefore, we see that everybody wants ananda. They are always looking for where is the enjoyment, where is the enjoyment. So what happens is these Vedic literatures, they say, okay, you want to enjoy, enjoy. But with this enjoyment, you have to pay some price. So what happens is gradually, when one is enjoying at the same time, he's paying some price, and therefore um, he's gradually purified. And this is there with every activity. Like if the Brahmana is there, so he has to chant some mantras, he has to do some yajna and all. So it's a part of purification, and then he can enjoy whatever is there. So this is the way how gradually one is purified. Therefore, the conscious souls must try to follow the process of yajna by becoming Krishna conscious. Even those who have not followed the Vedic injunctions may adopt the principle of Krishna consciousness, and that will take the place of performance of Vedic yajnas or karma. So there are some who cannot follow the Vedic injunction also in this present time. What happens is we don't even know what are the Vedic injunctions. So, if the yajna is to be performed, we don't have uh, good panditas or learned scholars nowadays, nor the ingredients are there, nor the time is there. So, there are so many restrictions in doing all these things. And therefore, Prabhupada is saying that if we just follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, then automatically the yajna is done. And the Yuga Dharma for this age is Nam Sankirtan. And therefore, if we can do just that, then all the other things can be simultaneously fulfilled. And therefore, being Krishna conscious means the person has followed all the Vedas, the person has done all the yajnas, the person has done everything in his life which is needed. And that is the only way out. So now we saw the cycle of sacrifice, how this sacrifice is done. So now, what happens if one doesn't do sacrifice? So this verse number 16 says that such life is sinful. Why it is sinful? We take everything from the demigods, gods, but we are not grateful, and we do not reciprocally return. So we take free air, free light, water, the rains, everything, the food rains, we all take for free, and we do not reciprocate. Therefore, it's a life of sin. It's a sinful life. So let's see verse number 16. एवं प्रवर्तितं चक्रं नानुवर्तयत यथातिथाय अघायुरिन्द्रियारामो मोघं पार्थ स जीवति. So evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayatihaय अघायुरिन्द्रियारामो मोघं पार्थ जीवति. So evam thus pravartitam established by the Vedas chakram cycle na does not anuvartayati, adopt, iha, in this life here, one who, aghayu, whose life is full of sins, Indriya arama, satisfied sense gratification, mogam uselessly, partha of son of Pritha, Arjuna, sa he jivati lives. My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice such established by the Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for satisfaction of senses, such a person lives in vain. So, if one does not follow this cycle of sacrifice, then what happens is one is leading a sinful life. And why sinful life? Because one is living only for his satisfaction of his own senses. And therefore, such life is useless. Because why it is useless is this life will give us uh, so many other lives and so many action and reaction that will gradually go down in the cycle of evolution. So next life will not even get a human birth, and therefore this life is vain. And this life is can become useful if we become Krishna consciousness, or even if we do not become Krishna conscious, at least we worship some demigod or something, so that at least we have a chance to elevate ourselves, or we do some work without expecting any results. That is Nishkam Karma. At least one should do Nishkam Karma, give some charity or something, so that one's life is actually being fully utilized. Otherwise, one is sure to get birth in the animal species or plant or I don't know where downgrade. Purport. The Maimonist philosophy of work very hard and enjoy sensation is condemned hearing by the Lord. So this philosophy that working 5 days in a week and then enjoying is not accepted here because it is not useful. Therefore, for those who want to enjoy this material world, the above mentioned cycle of performing yajna is absolutely necessary. So even if one wants to enjoy, it should be according to the dharmic way, not it could not be karma or without sanction of the Vedas. So the difference between this today's world and the Vedic world is, suppose somebody wants to become the king or a president of the country. Then according to Vedic philosophy, what he'll do? He will do some sacrifice, he'll do some yajna, and he will try his best to purify himself to become the president of the country or the king of the country. And suppose he doesn't become, he has faith that because he has done perform all this Veda sacrifice, next life again he will get a human birth and again he'll further do one till the time he becomes. But what happens when we does not follow the Vedic culture? We see that, oh, life is temporary on this life. So what one will do is, one will not do yajna and all. So by hook or crook, by anything, one may be killing somebody, one may do some scam or something, one may do so many n number of things and will become the president. So this type of thing is condemned here because what will happen is by this he has to suffer a lot. He has to suffer a lot. And at the same time, if it is not there in his karma, he will not become the president. After killing so many people, after doing so many scams and all, he will not become the person. And therefore, uh, even if one wants to enjoy, even if one wants some post in this material world, the above mentioned cycle of yajna is very necessary. So it is not wrong to aspire for some material post. It is not wrong in this material world to aspire for some material post, but it is wrong if the process of achieving the post is not proper, is not according to Vedic dharma. That is very wrong, and therefore at least our process should be right. And if one is Krishna conscious, nothing like it. So one will eventually get out of cycle of birth and death, and one will eventually get all the post and position in the spiritual world, which are much more beneficial, greater, and much more enjoying than whatever posts are there in this material world. So one who does not follow this such regulations is living a very risky life, being condemned more and more. By nature's law, this human form of life is specifically meant for self-realization in either of three ways, namely karma yoga, jnana yoga, or bhakti yoga. So this human life is not meant for enjoyment. If we actually compare also with animals, so if we see Pigeons can enjoy in the whole day so many times. Elephants can eat more than what we can eat. And the lion has more strength than us. And if you see all the other living entities, they don't even work. We have to work so hard day and night to earn some money and everything. And then we get some food and everything. These animals, they can enjoy unlimitedly. Whole day, they see, if you see the cow, whole day she can eat. She can eat the whole day and keep on chewing, chewing, chewing. How much many can we eat? After some time, our stomach is full. So any of the senses we have, it cannot enjoy anything permanently. So it can enjoy only for few seconds or some minutes. Otherwise, it cannot enjoy. But if we see animals, they can enjoy so very best. And therefore, actually, this human life is meant for sacrifice. And therefore, this human life, uh, what we can do with this life is we can use it for some good purposes. The best will be Krishna consciousness. But if one cannot follow Krishna consciousness, at least do some charity, some things we can do. And by that, we can uh, gradually purify our existence here. And therefore, this karma yoga, jnana yoga, or bhakti yoga, these three things are there here. So, yoga means linking with the Lord, and karma means through the work. So, karma yoga means linking God through work. Jnana yoga means linking God with the help of knowledge, and bhakti yoga means linking with God with the help of bhakti, the 9 angas of bhakti, or what we do, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. So, this is the way we should link with the Lord, so that ultimately we are self-realized and we can get out of this material world. So there is no necessity of rigidly following the performance of prescribed yajnas for transcendentalists who are above vice and virtue, but those who are engaged in sense gratification that require purification by the above mentioned cycle of yajna performance. So if we are doing our bhakti and all, then we are not, we cannot, we if we don't perform the performances described out, that is okay, there is no problem. But somebody wants to enjoy, then he has to follow this very nicely. Otherwise, there'll be problem. So there are different kinds of activities. Those who are not Krishna consciousness are certainly engaged in sensory consciousness. Therefore, they need to execute pious work. So there is no vacuum actually in this world. Either we are Krishna consciousness or we are Maya conscious, or we want to enjoy this material world. There can be only two things. There is no in between. So therefore, who are not Krishnas need to execute some pious work. The yajna system is planned in such a way that sensory consciousness persons may satisfy their desires without becoming entangled in the reaction of sense gratificationary work. So this is like one can enjoy also at the same time one is not entangled also. This is how this all yajna system works. The prosperity of the world depends not on our own efforts but on the background element of Supreme Lord directly carried out by the demigods. So this very important line, the prosperity of the world depends not on our own efforts, but on the background arrangement of Supreme Lord directly carried out by the demigods. So whatever we see in this material world, the economic development, whatever we see in this material world, whatever prosperity, whatever wealth we have, everything, actually, it is not because of our own efforts. How? See, all the natural resources we get, the gold, ruby, or by which one is wealthy. If we see in terms of wealth, how can a person be considered wealthy if he has this number of gold, money, and all everything, factory or land or property, everything. And if we see any of the things, the land, the property, it is given by Lord. If we want to build a building, all the ingredient like cement, the brick, all is given by the Lord. We cannot manufacture any of the things. See, we can just transform from one thing or other, but everything is done by the Lord. And even the grains, the sunlight, the air, whatever we need for our sustenance, whatever we need for our economic development, everything is given by the Lord. And whenever the Lord withdraws, we see in few seconds the whole economy is destroyed. So recently we see there is some fire breakout in one of the states. So within seconds, so many things are being destroyed. So we can see how it works. So if there is earthquake, So whatever prosperity we have done, within few minutes, it can be ruined to ashes. And therefore, actually, if we see, the whole prosperity of the world is depending not on effort, but the arrangement of the Lord. Till the time the Lord decides we can enjoy this material world, and if the Lord says enough is enough, it's done, within seconds, everything will be finished. And further, we'll have no way out. And therefore, actually, we are dependent on Supreme Personality of Godhead for every breath we are taking, for every step we are taking. And therefore, we should be grateful to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this work is carried out by demigod. So demigod is a category which also wants post, but they want it a legal way. And therefore, they worship Supreme Personality of Godhead so that they can enjoy the post. At the same time, they can also do bhakti. And therefore, they're called mixed devotees or Mishra Bhakta. They're not Shuddha devotees because the pure devotees want nothing. They do not want post, but they only worship Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pleasure. Whereas here, the demigods worship Supreme Personality Godhead, but they also want their own pleasure. They want some uh, post, position, some powers, and all. So nothing is also not wrong because they are doing it in a legal way. So therefore, the yajnas are directly aimed at particular demigods mentioned in the Vedas. So whatever yajnas are there in the Vedas, they are mentioned that this is for Soma, or this is for Indra, this is for Vayu, or this is for Shivji. So these all are aimed at some universe, and indirectly it is a practice of Krishna consciousness, because when one masters the performance of yajnas, one is too sure to become Krishna conscious. So indirectly, actually, because all the powers come from Krishna, so what we are worshipping is some ansh of Krishna. So indirectly, we are worshipping Krishna. But when one masters the performance of yajnas, one is sure to become Krishna. So after one is becoming very much mastering the yajnas, then actually one become Krishna conscious. But if by performing yajnas one did not become Krishna conscious, such principles are counted as only moral codes. One should not therefore limit his progress only to the point of moral codes, but should transcend them to attain Krishna consciousness. So again, if by performing all the yajnas, if one does not become Krishna conscious, then it is just some good things they are done, and we should not limit ourselves to that. But our life is meant for becoming Krishna conscious, so that we can cut the cycle of birth and death and go back to Godhead. So now, from verse number 17 to next 35, so Nishkam Karma Yoga is being said. These verses tell about how Nishkam Karma Yoga is there to set the right example. So first of all, this 17, 18 describes how about the self-realized person, and how a self-realized person has no duty to work because he's already realized himself. So it's nothing to do in material world. He has no desires that I want to acquire this car or bungalow or anything. He has no such desires, and he's very satisfied in himself. So he's no desires, he's satisfied, and therefore he has no work also in this material world. But yet he works. Why? To set an example for others, so that others do not imitate and become lazy in their duties. Let's see verse number 17. यस्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानव आत्मनि एव च सन्तुष्टस्तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. Yeah, one who, two, but Atmarati, taking pleasure in the self, eva, certainly, Syat remains, Atmatripta, self-illuminated, Cha and Manava, a man, Atmani, in himself, eva, only, Cha and Santushta, perfectly satisfied, Tasya, his, Karyam, duty, Na, does not, Vidyate, exist. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satisfied, for him there is no duty. So such person who takes pleasure in the self, uh, his life is meant for self-realization, and he is satisfied in self. So he has no duty to perform. He is not obliged to do anything in this material world. Purport. A person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his act in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. So if one is a devotee of Krishna and is satisfied in whatever acts he's doing, whatever kirtan, bhajan he's doing in the Krishna consciousness, then he has no duty. So even if he's not satisfied, then he has to do some work. But if one is satisfied in Shravanam Ketu by chanting the whole day, so there are some devotees we see that they can chant for the whole day. We see in Vrindavan, there are so many devotees who chant 1 lakh names, 2 lakhs. Sometimes we see them devotees chanting 3 lakh names, and they do whole day Govardhan Parikama and everything. So they are satisfied in what they are doing, and therefore there is no duty for them to perform. They did not work for the subsistence. They will just do some madhukari, and within 3-4 hours they will get some food, and they will stay very, very uh, with minimum comforts. So in this way they live, and therefore there is no duty for them. They are just chant and dance and just glorify Supreme Personality God. That is all they do. So purport: a person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied in acting Krishna conscious no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed, an effect of many, many thousands of yajna performance. So see the difference. So in previous yugas, whatever could be cleansed by many, many thousands of yajnas. And we know if we have to perform one yajna, it takes years just to prepare for the yajna. You need so many ingredients for actual yajnas. So nowadays, what we perform is not a like a full-fledged yajna. It is very small yajna, and we take very small, little ingredients. But the actual yajna, if we see, they are very huge, and it takes years and years. So if one becomes Krishna consciousness, then what happens is all the impurity in the heart is cleansed, and it is cleansed instantly. So such cleaning, if done by other methods, will take thousands and thousands of years. But one becomes Krishna conscious, it is done immediately. And therefore, this Kali Yuga is actually a difficult Yuga because we see there are lots of injustice. But at the same time, in this Yuga, one can go easily back to Godhead by chanting the holy names of Lord. And therefore, one should take benefit of this Yuga by chanting the holy name of the Lord and ignore all the other things. Otherwise, one will be caught in this whirlpool of birth and death. By such cleaning of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. So his duty thus becomes self-eliminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he no longer has any obligations to the Vedic injunctions. So this doesn't mean that a devotee does not follow the Shastras. So he follows the Shastras, but he follows Bhakti Shastras. And he does not have any obligation to Vedic injunctions. So Vedic literatures, he doesn't have any role to play. That is the Karma Kanda literatures, the Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda literatures. So he has no obligation against them. But definitely he follows Bhakti Shastras. So he is following some authority. Nothing is done whimsically. So when it is done that he has no obligation to Vedic injunction doesn't mean that he has no obligation to any injunction. He follows the injunctions, but what is dictated by Supreme Personality Godhead directly, like this reading this Bhagavad-gita, or through some pure devotees, that is being followed. And therefore, these injunctions or the Bhakti injunctions are different from the Vedic injunctions which are written in the Vedas. And therefore, one definitely follows Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So there is no point of not following anything. It doesn't happen. Such a Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, woman, and similar infatuations. So such person is not interested in material activities, anything which is material, which is not connected with Supreme. So he's not anyway interested, and therefore he does not take pleasure in the material arrangements. So generally, why in women and similar infatuations, and the women for men, and uh, for men it is women, and for women it is men. So it is like opposite gender. So they want to take pleasure in both. So this all things actually are immaterial for a devotee, and the devotee takes pleasure in Krishna and Krishna conscious activities. So if we want to know how much we have progressed in our spiritual life, then the barometer is how much we are detached or how much we are not attracted to material pleasures, and how much we are attracted to spiritual things. So this barometer tells how much we have progressed. So if the attachment to material world is gradually decreasing and attachment to spiritual activities is gradually increasing, that means we should understand that we are gradually progressing Krishna consciousness. And this may take some time also. We should have patiently follow the regulative principles of bhakti, daily rising early, then chanting our rounds, reading or understanding Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and all. So these things all should be done on a daily basis. Um, this is how we can progress. So let's see verse number 18. नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थ व्यपाश्रय. Na, never, ever, certainly, tasya, his, kritena, by desire of duty, artha, purpose, na, nor, akritena, without desire of duty, iha, in this world, kashchana, whatever, na, never, cha, and asya, of him, sarvabhuteshu, among all living beings, kashchit, any, artha, purpose, vyapashaya, taking shelter of. Translation. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So, this is the symptoms of the self-realized person. First of all, no purpose, no reason to perform work, and no need to depend on any other living person. So, whatever he does his prescribed duties out of love, or it has to be performed. That's all. That is the only goal. Otherwise, there is nothing material ambitions or goals for performing the duties. Purport: a self-led man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty, save and accept activities in Krishna consciousness. So he's not obliged. That means he doesn't have to do duties, but he may do to set an example. But he is not obliged. But he will do all the activities in Krishna consciousness. So whatever Shravanam, Kirtan, and paths and all things that he'll do. Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, as it will be explained in the following verses. So Krishna consciousness doesn't mean that one is totally inactive; he doesn't do anything. So no, this is not the way. So Krishna consciousness also there is so many activities there. A Krishna conscious man does not take shelter of any person, man or demigod. So it's a very important thing. If we are Krishna consciousness, we are devotee of Radha and Krishna, then we should not take shelter of any mortal man or demigod. We should only take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Krishna and Srimati Radha, and they are our shelters. And therefore, for any difficulty, what we do is we go to them. So we worship them, we take shelter of them. So we don't go to any mortal man. And then Krishna makes arrangement that how this difficulty can be overcome or this problem can be solved. That is his job. Our job is to worship Krishna, and Krishna's job is to take care of our maintenance or whatever things it may be, so that gradually we may go back to him as fast as it possible. So whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation. So whatever he does, so whatever work he does in Krishna consciousness means what? Whatever we do, we should always be Krishna conscious. We should always have Krishna in forefront. And then what happens is sufficient discharge of his obligations. Then this whatever obligation he has, that is being considered as he has discharge his activity. So whatever we do, maybe teaching, maybe we are conducting some meetings, we are doing business or anything. So all activities in our day-to-day life should be done in the mood of being Krishna conscious, so that we can offer the results to Krishna. We actually work for Krishna, and whenever whatever results come, we offer it to Krishna. So nothing is ours. This is how we should work in our day-to-day life. And that if we work like this, then we are assured of liberation from this material world and going back to God. So a self-realized person also works, but he works with detachment. So he has no attachment to the results and all. So if we see the whole section again, then Krishna is giving us one clue: work, do your duty, but without attachment to results. So do your duty without attachment to results. So we see this again and again. This theme is being explained here. So let's see verse number 19. तस्मादसक्त सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो हि आचरन् कर्म परम आपनोति पुरुष. Tasmat, therefore, asakta, without attachment, satatam, constantly, karyam, as duty, karma, work, samachara, perform, asakta, unattached, he certainly, acharan, performing, karma, work, param, the supreme, apnoti, achieves, purusha, man. Translation. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. So, very good translation. See, without being attached to the fruit of activities. So, we should be attached to the work. That doesn't mean that if we are not attached to fruits, then we should not attach to work. We should be attached to work, but not to fruit of activities. And then one should act as a matter of duty. What does it mean is one has to do work, because suppose if I tell that if you work and you will not get salary, so don't be attached to salary. So nobody will work. So therefore one has to work as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. So in this way, if one works, that one does his duty without attachment to result, what happens is gradually one will attain the supreme, that supreme personality or Krishna. So therefore, whatever we do it for Krishna. In this way, what happens is gradually we purify ourselves, and we are then making our way going to back to Godhead. Purport: the Supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonation. So what is the Supreme also differs person to person. So for some it is Brahman, that is light. For some it is Supreme Personality Godhead, that is personality. So some believe in the form of Lord and some does not believe in the form of Lord. So for some devotees, it is Supreme Personality Godhead is in his 200 or 400 form, whatever it may be, maybe Vishnu or Krishna, whatever it may be. And for liberation so impersonation, it is light. So they merge into the light. So that is what their goal is. A person therefore acting in Krishna or in Krishna consciousness under proper guidance and without attachment to the result of work is certainly making progress towards the supreme goal of life. So this is very important line. A person therefore acting in Krishna or in Krishna consciousness. So whatever activity you are doing in Krishna consciousness, so daily chanting, reading, hearing and all our different work also for earning, whatever we do, we are doing in Krishna consciousness. So therefore, whenever we earn money, we do not do in an illegal way, we do not do in a wrong way, but we do according to the prescribed rules and regulations. So this is how done. So, and that is also proper guidance without attachment to result. So in this way, one is certainly making progress towards the supreme goal of life. So sometimes we have doubt whether one is moving forward or not. Sometimes we have dull days. Sometimes we don't feel to chant. Sometimes we don't feel to hear. And sometimes those dull days also come in our life. Life is never a steady coaster ride. So it will go on fast. Sometimes there are hiccups. There are some speed breakers also in life. And one should be aware of the speed breakers, that one will definitely get some speed breakers in life. But one should understand that if one is working, acting Krishna under proper guidance, So one should always take some guidance from higher authorities and without attachment to results of work. So after working Krishna consciousness, sometimes it happens that for a few years one doesn't get any result and one thinks, oh, whether it's working or not. So we should understand is certainly making progress. So one, if it working this way, um, acting for Krishna under guidance and without any result, then one is definitely making progress to a supreme goal of life. So we are definitely moving forward. Sometime what happens, our mind cheats us and the mind tells that, oh, you're not making any progress. See that devotee has so far, see that person has gone so far, but you are here only for so many years, your rounds are constant, you are not doing much. The mind is cheating us. Actually, if we are following Krishna consciousness under guidance of authorities, then that means definitely we are making some progress. See, progress is not measured on daily basis. It is measured on monthly basis, yearly basis. So last year and this year, we see that how much we have progress. On daily basis, there can be some dips in our life. There can be some days when we are not able to do our devotionals properly or in proper mood or something. There can be some days, but cumulatively, if we see, we are growing every year, we are making some progress, and this should definitely excite us and help us to move forward so that we don't have a dull life, or sometimes we don't have days when we are morose or something. So this is very important. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna, because Krishna wanted him to fight. So here also we see Arjuna did not want to fight, but Krishna told him, you fight. And why you want, or why Arjuna should fight? Because Krishna is desiring so. So if Krishna wants something and we do, our life is successful, then we need not think other things. So here Arjuna followed Krishna and became so famous. So to be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the result. Sometime when somebody says that I will non-violent, I will not harm anybody. So this is all personal attachment. So violence is needed. If we see any state, if there are no prison house, then what will happen? There will be whole chaos. So prisoners also needed, where some capital punishment is given to the person who does some wrong. So therefore, some amount of violence is required in order that peace be prevailed in all the other areas. Therefore, to become a non-violent is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of Supreme and do the needful, whatever is needed at this point of time, is to act without attachment for the result. So whatever result may come when we act, and this is the perfection of the highest degree. Uh, and recommended by Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. So this is perfect action. So whatever is done, this is perfection. This is perfect action of higher degree. So nothing can be better than this. And this is recommended by whom? Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. So Krishna is saying, and we'll see in whether verses he's saying directly that surrender everything to me. So Ma Mekam Sharanam, take my shelter alone. So these all verses will come further. Vedic rituals like prescribed sacrifice are performed for purification of impious activities that were performed in the field of sense gratification. But action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of evil, good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities but is completely non-attached. So we see devotees doing so many things, like somebody is in construction, somebody is meeting bureaucrats, so many things one does. So even outside do the some work, but there's a vast of difference because devotee when he's doing all this work, it is bhakti. But when outside do it is just karma. So there's a lot difference between both of them. And therefore, we should understand that if one is Krishna conscious, there's no attachment for the result. So if one gets success, one gives credit to Krishna that because of you, when I got success. And one, if doesn't get success, is beaten badly. Still, he tells Krishna, it is your desire. What can we do? If you want success, then it will come. If you do not want success, it will come. So success, not success, fame, infamy, all things are actually given to us by Krishna. And therefore, um, one should act in that way, that to please Krishna is our goal. and whatever result we get is secondary. And therefore, one should act for Krishna alone. And therefore, he engages in all kinds of activities, but is completely non-attached. So out externally we see that he's doing all things, but internally if we see he's not attached to that things. Therefore, attachment is the greatest cause of misery in this material world. How if we are more attached in this material world to material activities, we will be miserable, because this material world is made in a such a way that whatever we have now will be all taken away. Our wealth will be taken away, our relation will be taken away, everything, even our body will be taken over one day. So what to think of others? And therefore, one should try becoming not attached to the things. At the same time, one should not be irresponsible. One should do the duties very nicely, whatever duties are being assigned as a husband, as a wife, as children, or as father and mothers, whatever it may be. So one has to abide by all the things. So this is how one works. So verse number 20 is setting examples. So there are some people who have done the best in their life, but still who have achieved Krishna consciousness, but still one is working. Why? To set examples for others. Let's see verse number 20. Karmaneva hi samsiddhim astita janakadaya lokasangraham evapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. Karmana, by work, even, is certainly some siddhim in perfection, astita situated, janakadaya, janaka and other kings, loka sangraham, the people in general, eva api, also, sampashyan, considering, kartum, to act, arasi, you deserve. Translation. Kings such as Janaka attain perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. So if we see how King Janak Maharaj attained perfection, it is by doing his prescribed duties. Whatever he was a king and he should do his duties very nicely, and thus he attained perfection. And therefore, here Krishna is saying to Arjuna that I know you are on the level of a renunciation or whatever it is, but now at this point of time you do work. Why? This is for educating a general people, so that for educating general people, do your duty, so that others may not be misled, or others do not give up their duty prematurely without purification being happened. So till the time one is not purified, one cannot give up the work. And after one is purified, then one may or may not work. But till the time one is impure, one has definitely to work. And one's sustenance or maintenance will not be done if one doesn't work. So one has to do some duty or work. Purport: kings like Janaka were all self-realized souls. Consequently, they had no obligation to perform the duties of in the Vedas, prescribed in the Vedas. So we see Janak Maharaj, he was self-realized, and therefore he had no duty, no obligation to perform. So Vedas had prescribed some duties. So these are only for persons, Vedas are meant for persons who want to enjoy this material world. But here, because Janak Maharaj was helpless, he has no inclination to enjoy this material world, and therefore he was not obliged to perform the prescribed duty in the Vedas. Nonetheless, they have performed all prescribed activities just to set examples for the people in general. But still, Janak Maharaj used to do all things. Why? To set examples. So that people, general people, not be bewildered and they do what is required. Janaka was the father of Sita and father-in-law of Lord Sri Ram. Being a great devotee of the Lord, he was transcendently situated. But because he was the king of Mithila, a subdivision of Bihar province in India, he had to teach his subjects how to perform prescribed duties. So he knew very well how to do. But what happened is he had to teach his subjects that how to you should perform duties, and therefore he is educating all the people. Otherwise, we know he is a great devotee, Janak Maharaj, and therefore he has no duties. Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal friend, had no need to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but they fought to teach people in general that violence is also necessary in the situation where good arguments fail. So here also, if we see, Krishna and Arjuna, they have no duty actually. Uh, and we see even before this also fight of Mahabharata, there were so many fights which Arjuna and Krishna fought, but nowhere they became kings. Like we see Krishna, Arjuna, and Bhimsen went to the kingdom of Jarasan and they killed the Jarasan, but they did not claim the kingdom. They put his son in the in that seat, but they did not take anything, and therefore we see that they have no duty to fight. But why they fought? So that people may understand that violence is when good arguments fail. So be here, if we see Duryodhana was never agreeing, and therefore this war was fought. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war, even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the other party was determined to fight. So we see how Krishna went for peace so many times, and last uh, he asked only 5 villages actually. Though 5 villages is nothing, but Duryodhana said that I will not give even a space where a pin can be kept. So this is how Duryodhana was so adamant, and therefore the war took place. So for the right cause, there is a necessity for fighting. So however, we not like fighting, but there'll always be wars, and we see nowadays also so many wars are going on. Although one who is situated in Krishna consciousness may not have any interest in the world, he still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. So basically, if one is fully Krishna conscious, his interest in material will go away, as we have seen. And but he will still work to teach the public how to live and how to act. So the best teaching one can do is by example. So whatever one may say will not be followed by people in general, but whatever we do, it will be followed. And therefore, while we do parenting children, or we parenting for children, or we teach children, so we see children also do not do what parents say. Children do what parents do. So suppose the parents have mobile in their hand and they are using the mobile day and night, and they say children, don't take mobile, do your homework, do your work, this time is for study. So the children will not listen, because they also see that my parents are saying do not take mobile and study. But what are they doing? They are just taking their mobile, and whole day they are doing something on mobile, and they are not reading, they are not doing anything. So why should I do? So therefore, the general way of teaching others is by setting own example. This is the way how others learn, and therefore here also we see that uh, one may not have an interest, but one needs to work so that people should know how to live in it. So experienced person in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that others will follow, and this is explained in the following verse. So whatever experienced person are there, so they will act in a way in which a common man can follow. So gradually lifting their consciousness, lifting their whole life, the purpose of life to a level where they can be also work selflessly for the satisfaction of Krishna. But this will happen gradually in the life. So this is the way how one sets examples for others to follow. So